the proper relationship to nature we've not understood. We think nature is something to be conquered. Conquer the West, and to be exploited, mainly for profit. I mean, right now they're fighting over the national forests, and can we come and log, and we want to do this, and people want land, they want to. Nature is simply a source of resources, to commodities to sell and make money. But that's not the correct relationship to nature, obviously. So Swami Ravi used to say, he would grab us all and take us out, and we would plant trees and flowers and dig up things, and like you were doing at your house in Brooklyn. And he said he had several little standard comments he wanted to make, and one is, "What is the taste of the earth?" And people, no, it just tastes like dirt, And he would pick up some earth, and he would say, no. The correct answer is, the taste of the earth is sweet. Because it's the mother, and it nurtures us. And we have to learn to realize it's sweet. And he used to say, okay, we're doing this, we're cutting down things and planting things. But he said, we're not erasing it. He says, when I work on the land, he actually studied landscape architecture in Japan. He says, I work with nature. Nature's there, and I have some input, but I treat nature with respect, and I work with her. And this boils down to the whole question of the relationship between him and her, which is a central issue in our society at this point, as you might have noticed. So we have this attitude, and the book, Kali Rising, is a lot about this relationship between him and her, the generic him and the generic her, which live in both each of us. We each have a him and a her. So it's really a misunderstanding to say, oh, men are him and women are her. We're both. You can follow that, the grammar of that. We're both. And so the relationship between the two is a matter of our inner harmony as well as our outer harmony. So we work with nature. So when we work with the breath, we're working with nature. The planet breathes. There is actually a whole envelope of electromagnetic phenomena that encase the Earth. And that's what meteorologists are measuring and trying to predict what's happening next. But lightning is part of the nerve impulses running through this. And at any moment, lightning is happening somewhere many places on the planet. So this the atmosphere is an extension of the biosphere. And it's like the pranic level, the subtle energy part. And it has its own rhythms and breath and movements that we so far haven't been able to alter much, thank God. So the breath is our internal version of that. The microcosm reflects the macrocosm and vice versa. So our inner breath is our little piece of nature, and with that sort of energetic shifting and moving and that happens within us. So when we breathe, we have to have the proper attitude toward the breath to do the kind of practices that we're talking about. And it's not like, take a breath. That's like, grab her by the hair, go make dinner. I mean, it's like, is this the way you treat your mother? You know, you treat your consort, your other half? No, that's not the correct attitude. So what if we don't take a breath, but we invite a breath, or we receive a breath, and we do it with humility and respect? Like the breath is something that comes in and through us and keeps us alive. Wow. So we don't just grab it and take it like, okay, we're going to cut the forest down and make lumber. We instead, we allow the breath to move through us. And by our relationship with her, with nature, with Shakti, with this power of energy and life, we in our capacity, I should say it this way, our he treats her with respect, and our he then begins to be able to have some subtle input into how she moves through us. Well, that's different from what most people are teaching. You know, you go to a yoga class, okay. No, please don't. Please don't. Don't do that. No, this is not good. You want to tune into the breath, allow the breath. Swami Ravi said the most advanced breathing practice is breath awareness. Not to do something fancy, but just to study the breath. First you need to know. He needs to know how she functions and what are her moves and what are her ways. And then you can say, oh, well, how about over here? And she goes, oh, all right. And she flows over there, and that enlivens a part of your body. So if you're sick, the organ that's sick is not getting the energy and the prana. So you want to go there. She's like, don't tell me what to do. Who do you think you are? No, you say, oh, there's a place over here. I'm going to go over there and see what's happening. And she says, oh, you're over there. I'll come too. So she comes too because she likes to be seen and she wants to be appreciated. And then she nurtures that organ too, and then you get well. This is not a mystery. It's just that we don't get it. You know, it's like, no, we can't think that way. We won't do it, you know, on a breath. Take a breath. Okay, you aren't going to get very far that way. She's not going to like it. So if you cultivate that attitude toward the breath, then you can begin to say, well, what if we breathe slow and more deeply and more sensually, letting the breath flood through every fiber of our being. And then let's exhale with relaxation and release. Okay, then that process, once you immerse yourself in that process, it can be extended and extended and extended and extended. And you may think, why bother? Well, because how you function, how you think, how you relate, how you use your energy in the world, it's all being affected by the breath. So some additional awareness can increase the skillfulness of how that breath is used and how it's working. So how far can you take that? You were talking about death. How far can you take that? Well, one of the things that yogis will do, and especially Swara yogis, those who work with the breath, that's their focus. they will learn what is the essence of the breath? What is the energetic gift of the breath? How much does it depend on what you're doing with your lungs? After you go deeper and deeper, you begin to say, oh, well, the lungs can do it, but there's another way to do it. And so one of the things they do to demonstrate their expertise is they dig a hole, about big enough to sit in like this, and 4 or 5 feet deep. And the yogi gets in, they put a lid, and then they cover it with soil. And he sits there, breathing in ways that we aren't familiar with. And then they dig him up in 4 or 5 days. If he's still alive, he's an expert. So don't do that. But it tells us that we haven't yet begun to explore all the richness and complexity of the breath. We're at a very elementary stage, even those people who think they know a lot about it. Swami Ravi happened to be one of the great yogis who was reputed. He was to be the most knowledgeable about breath, and that's why I was privileged to write a book with him, Science of Breath, with his guidance and help. So he told me once that he was at this yoga conference in India where all these great yogis come, and they tapped him and said, Swamiji, you are the expert. Can you, for all of us teachers, can you gather and can you teach us something about breathing? So he said, of course. So they all came, and he taught them diaphragmatic breathing, which is the first step of working with breath. They could say, oh, I can do this, I can do all that, but they didn't really know about the diaphragm, and the diaphragm is very important, right? and I when I taught at Hindu Institute, I used that. We had a course. We had a year-long course on breathing. It's like 30 hours a week. There's a lot. There's more to it than you can imagine. But when I talk to weekend workshops, I teach them about breathing. I would ask, and often I had this training seminar for physicians and other health professionals. So I would say, I would ask them, when I talk about the diaphragm, does the diaphragm contract or expand when you inhale? Well, I had about half and half. Half would say it contracted and half would say it expanded. And they didn't agree with each other. And they didn't know. They didn't know. So I had gotten very curious about it because I thought, well, actually when I inhale, this diaphragm area actually expands, right? Mm-hmm. So the diaphragm is expanding on inhalation? Well, actually it's not, because the muscles of the diaphragm is what make inhalation possible. So it's the diaphragm is contracting and expanding at the same time. How can that be? And so at last I found an article by a professor in Harvard in the Journal of Respiratory Physiology who could explain it, because nobody was explaining it, and the health professionals didn't know. So it all has to do with something called the area of acquisition, which is where the lung is against the chest. So the diaphragm is, people say, well, it's a dome-shaped muscle, right? Like a bulging up. And so when it contracts, it pulls down. And that's not true. Because it contracted and pulled down, it would pull the sides of the chest in instead of going out. So how does it do that? You know, it's very almost like a mystery, and it's very clever, and it's very simple, really, because the diaphragm is all fibers on the top. It's like fascia. It's not got muscle fibers on the top. The muscle fibers are on the sides. And the diaphragm really isn't dome-shaped. It's shaped, it comes up like this and then across. The part at the top doesn't have any muscle. The muscles are here on the side of the circle of the diaphragm. And when they contract, it pulls the lid of the diaphragm down. So it moves this way down. And when it moves that way, it's compressing all your abdominal organs. Well, that's like a piston, you know, moving down. Well, where are they going to go? They can't go through the pelvic floor because it's kind of rigid. They can't go through back here. Well, they will poke out, make your abdomen poke out if you let them. If you let that happen, and that's called belly breathing or abdominal breathing. But if you want diaphragmatic breathing, you retain some tone in the abs, if you have tone, Marshall in the abs. If you let it go, you may not. And then when you do that, and it pushes down, it can't go this way, it can't go this way, it can't go down. But there are these sides where the muscle is against the chest wall, right along here, that gets pushed out as it descends. Can you picture that? It comes down, can't go anywhere else, it has to go, so it flares this out as it's contracting. So the diaphragm expands by contracting. Isn't that fascinating? So this is such an efficient way of breathing. It accomplishes two things. First of all, you move the air and get the gas exchange with the least effort possible. Because that's a little bit of muscle tension. Very simple. That doesn't use up a lot of energy. But secondly, when it works that way and that top to the diaphragm slides down, what really gets the aeration, is the base of the lungs. And that's where, when you're standing up, all your blood pools in the base of the lungs. So it gets a lot of aeration, a lot of oxygen, carbon dioxide exchange. Because the movement and the expansion is here, it's not up here. So when you breathe diaphragmatically, you're breathing in a way that is calming and relaxing and creates serenity, and it calms the autonomic nervous system. So we recommend that when you sit for meditation, you use diaphragmatic breathing and feel the expansion here. And this is kind of has some good tone here. And with very little effort. So little effort that you can sit on the ground for 4 days. God, I don't know how they do it. But I know that the more I learn about breath, the more I see, I didn't think that was possible. So if I keep going, I probably won't ever get to the point that I'll do that, or at least that I would have the confidence to try it. Even if I thought I would know, I don't think I would risk it. So the breath this is a process of gradually working. And it's a process of bringing into awareness dimensions of the breath that we are not ordinarily aware of. So that's the preparatory work. So breath awareness means I will ask you, how many people here have really focused internally and noticed which parts are moving on inhalation and which parts are moving on exhalation, and the energy that is generated of pulling the oxygen in, all the little mitochondria go and release this energy, and that energy is experienced as waves of vitality moving through your whole body. So how many people have ever watched in one respiratory cycle, how it's happening mechanically, and then where the energy, which parts of your body it's going into. Raise your hand. Oh, I'm impressed. Most people haven't, because that's a lot to pay attention to at once. And it's like, well, I got a lot of things to do today. I can't sit there and, look at my navel. It's not really in your navel. Well, the diaphragm's close to that, but move up a little bit. And so that breath awareness, without that, it's like, how do you go into the area and do all these things if you can't see? Fumbling around in the dark. Can't usually do breath work. You have to go in. It's like a house, that has no lights, and you've never been in it. Boarded up house, and you go inside and it's dark, and you think, oh my God. But then you stand there for a while and begin to see, it's like a stereo. Oh, there's a door. And you begin to find your way around, and then you know how to move around in there. Well, that's what we have to do with the inner world if we're going to work successfully with the breath, and if we're going to work with our inner world, all our thoughts and images and all of that. So if we're breathing and then you can see why breath work is a requirement for meditation. And in the classic yoga texts, how many people have heard of Yoga Sutras? Okay, so it's yama, niyama, asana, asana, pranayama, breathing, and then pratyahara, which is turning the attention inward. You need to turn it inward to work more with the breath. And then dharma, dhamma, samadhi, which are the 3 steps of actual meditation. So the breath work is absolutely necessary for meditation to be effective. So that was a lot. Thank you for your question. And does that give you some ideas about the work?
Yeah, it makes me understand better when I try to lie on the floor to do this, and I'm going, trying to catch my, breath,
right,
and let it out more slowly. It was like every time I would have to take in breath real fast.
Right,
so I was really thinking about it.
Because breath is the only function of the body, and organ function, that can be conscious or unconscious. So if we're not conscious, it reverts to habit, which is sort of conditioning, when you develop certain habits of breathing. And often those habits don't serve you well. But until you bring the breath into consciousness, you don't know what's happening. But when you bring it into consciousness, you notice that, like when I first started working the breath, I noticed I went, I was just not giving exhalation any time at all. I wanted to get to the next inhalation. I didn't have time for that. And so a lot of things don't work well when you do that. One is the exhalation is getting rid of wastes, getting rid of what you don't need. So that doesn't happen much when you exhale like that. The other thing is that inhalation is you bring in the inspiration as air, but also as being inspired to do things. And then the exhalation is when you just bring that out into expression in the world. Like, that's on the exhalation, the expression. The inhalation is preparing and bringing the energy, and then you use that to manifest. So you don't get much manifested if you go. Too much of a hurry, you can't get anything really accomplished. So all these things are actually not just metaphors. These are actually related to how you operate in the world, what you're doing with your breath. It's amazing. So breath awareness is very important. So all you do is you sit or you lie down. But sitting is better because you stay more conscious and don't drift off to sleep. And you just watch where is the breath moving? Is it moving here? Is it moving down here? Is it moving up here? If I'm expanding up here primarily, chest breathing, then I'm going to kick on the adrenals and feel like it's emergency, because this is brought into play. Usually when you can't get enough breath here, you bring this into play, and it means emergency. Oh my God, something bad is happening, anxiety, stress. Am I breathing here? This is after me. It's very relaxing. But if I'm breathing just belly breathing, then I'm activating everything below the diaphragm, but up here it's not getting much energy. So you can have my gut, my second chakra, genital, sexual, and my first chakra is about fear and insecurity. Those things can happen, but all the higher awarenesses are kind of missing. So we don't want to just belly breathe. But you observe that. Study your breath. Study which part moves. Study what is the rate and rhythm. Is exhalation longer, inhalation longer? Is it smooth or is it jerky? And jerky breath jars all the autonomic nervous system. Or do you stop breathing between inhalation and exhalation? And that's a really bad idea. And people do that, so you go, and then nothing. And then the body says, I gotta have oxygen. So that's connected, especially with depression. Take the person that's breathing that way, who will almost always be depressed, and retrain, bring more awareness to breath, help them get in the habit of eliminating that pause, and the depression lifts. Surprise, surprise. Because, think about it, try it, do it. Just close your eyes and move. Inhale, and then exhale normally, and then just let it stop. What does that feel like? It feels like restless, anxious, I can't do anything. And you can't, really, because you're not getting air. So it's also connected to heart attacks. So people who stop breathing at the end of exhalation are very prone to have coronary heart attack, coronary artery infarct, what do they call it, myocardial infarction. It's very hard on the heart. How you breathe, the heart and the lungs are one organ, really. They're one organ, they're all together. So how you breathe is impacting the heart and how it functions extremely. And that's been proven that when people have that exhale stop, they're much more likely than other people to have heart attacks. So that's something to observe. What happens at the interface between inhalation and exhalation. If you inhale and stop habitually, or not, do it a little bit, you'll feel angry. So if you get in the habit of doing that, it's not good for the people around you. It's not very kind to those around you. Yeah.
I have sleep apnea, and my breath, exhale, it will stop when I relax. That machine kind of.
Yes.
So are the breathing exercises, breathing ways of taking?
Yeah. So if you practice, if you do breath awareness and notice it, and then practice closing the gap. So like when I inhale, And then I try to let the inhalation, I try to already start the exhalation before the inhalation completely stops. And that sounds crazy, but you can feel it. It's like I'm still inhaling, but the exhalation's already beginning. And then when I exhale, before the exhalation feels like it's completely died out, let the inhalation begin to rise out of that. And if you consciously practice that during the day sometimes, then that becomes a new habit. And that habit carries over to your sleep time. Takes some time. I have seen people do great harm to themselves using breath exercises that they didn't really, when they didn't really have the awareness of the breath. Because the breath is both possibly voluntary and involuntary. This is why it's tricky and kind of dangerous. Because if you are doing it, if you've developed breath awareness and you're doing one of these things, then that's fine. But if you don't have full awareness of the breathing process and you do something repetitively, you're conditioning yourself. This is like a simple conditioning thing. You're creating a habit of a certain pattern of breath that then you do without knowing it. And it's going on all the time, and those exercises are not intended to be used that way. Yeah.
It does appear like that we're a country of people that we're always looking for what's new and what's in vogue or fad or
dramatic.
Whatever can, and just looking at your breath carefully and slowly like you're talking about. Well, there's not a lot of bang in that, right?
Right.
You go in there and you subtly look around, but once you start doing it, then there's a lot of bang in it.
Yeah.
Just it's time.
It's another world. Yeah.
I started using the type of breathing you're talking about when I go to bed at night and I can't turn my mind off. I just focus on my breathing, and it changes the thought patterns, and then I go to sleep. And when I wake up in the morning also, and my mind is just like going berserk, I do the same thing.
That's great. Yeah. And it sure beats tranquilizers or whatever. I mean, it's a lot cheaper, and it doesn't have any side effects. Well, it has beneficial side effects. Yeah,
definitely.
So I highly recommend it. I've seen people too, like have remarkable shifts. We used to teach everyone diaphragmatic breathing, and Joseph and I worked in the clinic together for a long time. But every time someone came in, the patient, I'd teach them diaphragmatic breathing and neti pot. That's gotta have those two things. And then we go on to address your issues, and people would get well. I mean, put them on a good diet, get them to pay attention to breathing, do a little bit of yoga, calm down, be sane a little bit, and they get well. Very nice.
I have a very good question. What do you think of physical immortality? And the reason for the question is some of you probably know that Leonard Orr actually died a couple days ago in Asheville.
Oh, he was?
Leonard
Orr
just
died.
passed?
Yeah.
In Asheville.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he was, he claimed to have been to India and then met a couple of 800-year-old gurus. And even said he met a 2,000-year-old one. What do you think about this? And you think, you think that breathing well can be a pathway to living longer?
Well, yes, I feel confident that, I have not seen such people. The oldest person I saw was 166 or something. But I have read credible records of people who have lived up to 250 years. But I can't vouch for it because I didn't see them. And they were both, one of them was a yogi, and the other was the one who had done a lot of kaya kalpa, which is an Ayurvedic treatment, rejuvenation treatment. So yes, I think all of these things we're talking about, breath work, meditation, yoga, good diet, all these things will extend your life. And that's not the main thing to extend your life. Because, when your time comes to go, you have other things to do. You really should linger and resist, get with the program. So I don't know that longevity, if it's health, it's the quality of life. So why not be alive and vital and learning and growing? Great. But if you really want to sit in what do you call them, wheelchair in a nursing home and nod off, that's probably a waste of time. It's up to you. It's up to people. They make their own decisions about when to go out. Or they don't always make a decision, but it's not in, I don't have any strong feelings about you should live longer or shorter. I just think while you're alive, be really alive. And when you're tired of being alive, then go.
I really like what happens to breath naturally right after an acupuncture session. If you got the gates opening up, it just automatically it does what where we want to be anyway.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I know that some of this is trendy, and I'm interested. Didn't know that Leonard had passed because he had stayed with me a couple of years back. But there's a real cornucopia of things to choose that's fatty and new and trendy, but it's based on some, for instance, the whole idea of like breathing just through the nose and not through the mouth, and others will say, oh no, you need to use the oxygenation, the full breath with the mouth. And so it's just kind of fun to see what works for me or what doesn't work.
Well, these are techniques that are designed to address the subtle flow of subtle energy in the body. They and very ancient. You might be interested to know that the oldest known acupuncture chart is of an elephant, and the points are written in Sanskrit. So it wasn't unknown to, if you're holding your breath, you're already not quite fully alive. That's different from having enough familiarity and comfort with the breath to stop breathing for a while. That's different. So what was a damaging thing can become an interesting thing to explore if you're fully conscious of the world you're working in, of the breath and everything. Our illnesses are self-created because of habits that we have created by unconscious repetition, and those become habits. And then they have destructive effects on our body. But if we bring consciousness to all that, then we go, oh, look what I've been doing to my kidney. No wonder it hurts. I'm stop doing that. And then it gets better. It's healthy. This is the future of healing. We don't need to be blind and deaf and dumb. We have the capacity to be aware and just bring awareness to what's going on inside. And then you begin to have, it's not just choice. It's not like, okay, you stop doing that. It's like when you become aware that it's harmful, you don't want to do it anymore. Then you pull the rug out from under that habit. There's no feeling of desire to do it because it creates discomfort and pain. And
The future of healing is what, 5,000 or 6,000 years old?
Well, yeah. But the popularity of it is what's missing. We'd like for not just a few isolated people knowing how to do it, but we'd like for it to become a general way of operating. So I advise you to be conscious of what's happening with the environment and do what you can to protect yourself from those adverse effects, because it really does make a difference. It makes a huge difference, not only in your ability to meditate, but your health. And our health is under serious attack by these things, and we have to disengage from them. Or else move to Earth Haven. Where we don't, we're off the grid. We can't have it if we want it. Some people do have, however, some people there do have Wi-Fi, and there are other people at Earth Haven who can tell when they walk into the neighborhoods with Wi-Fi. They can feel it. So and that's still 3G, I guess. I don't know. I don't understand all the details, but I do know that there's enormous amount of literature and scientific work that's proven the damaging effects of these things. I was really entertained by the one speaker who was talking about, he said, you know, the Italians are really very practical and commonsensical, he said. So I want to give you an example of a case there. There was a young man who was working for a company, and they insisted that he have a cell phone for his work, and that he had to keep it on all the time. He had to keep it on his person. And, you know, he developed brain tumor, right where he had the cell phone all the time. And so he died. His mother sued the company and several people. And they got to stop this. And so I went to court. And so the judge said, okay, you know, all this arguing back and forth. He said, I want a pile of research papers that demonstrate that it causes brain cancer, and a pile that demonstrates that it doesn't cause cancer. And so they all assembled the papers and put them on his podium. And the pile that demonstrated that it did cause cancer was quite high. The other pile was pretty small. He said, okay, now take away all the papers that were financed by the industry. Well, the little pile disappeared. He says, okay, obvious. My decision is that I don't need to know anymore.
Wow.
Then he awarded the one in the long run. So that's the truth of the situation. And I got tons of proof of that, hearing people describe their work and the experiments that were being, the work that had been done, and the body of research that stands behind all of this. So it really is for real, and it really is serious.
It's also true of the smart meters. The meters are being replaced as well. The amount of radiation just on the side of your house and how far that goes out.
And that was the first insult. And now they have begun, I don't know where, but some areas have begun to honor the request for people that they want the smart meter not to be wireless, but to be connected by wires to whatever it's supposed to do.
That's great.
And then it's not dangerous.
Yeah, except you need notice from a doctor saying that's what
you don't want to get
right,
destroyed.
and you have to pay you have to pay money every month. It's extra money.
Extra.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just to discourage it, yeah.
I was thinking about that when you guys were talking.
Well, it's probably worth it to stay alive.
Probably, yeah.
You know, my doctor says that I shouldn't be, destroyed by.
All right.
I could mimeograph.
I disagree with him, but yeah.
I'll just give everybody one.
Okay.
Because I think
I'd like one, please.
That's so stupid to think that you have to pay extra money. just to-
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
to discourage it.
no, you shouldn't have to. But that's,
Are there any simple physical actions we can take to protect ourselves from 5G? Like, for example, like lead protects from radiation.
Well, yeah. See, the problem is that a lot of the research is based on 3G, but we know that 5G is going to be more intense. Yes. So a lot of techniques have been developed for protecting yourself against regular Wi-Fi and cell phones. And so what you do is you turn off the cell phone, put it on airplane mode when you can. If you're going to use it, it's better to put it on speakerphone and hold it out here instead of holding it
Right.
against
Or
your
I
ear.
always put it on the zone.
That makes a huge difference.
Even a headset will be less than having it up to you.
Yeah, I always do that.
One of the main problems is Wi-Fi. Like I was there in the house with this Wi-Fi router, which was right there near us, and it's But you can turn it off when you're not using Wi-Fi. And people think, oh, that's inconvenient. But, if you have to set up get a switch that you can just push a button and turn it off. And when you want to use something, push a button and turn it on. You can really prevent a lot of the damage. But if you're exposed to Wi-Fi all day and night, it really is serious impact, and especially for children. That's where it's tragic, because children are being really seriously damaged.
Rock and crystal.
Any specific material? Right?
Well, yes, and so what they found is that this is the work of Dietrich Klinghoffer. Have you heard of him? He's a German physician now working in England. He was in the U.S. for a while, but he's a highly respected physician, and he sees kids now with autism, and he takes them totally no exposure to Wi-Fi or cell phone signals or any of that, and maybe some dietary guidance and so forth, and they get well and they start talking. When they turn the Wi-Fi back on, they become autistic again. They can't talk or speak because it's jangling their nervous system, and they're like this all the time. They just can't function. So what he does is he has this special. They manufacture now a special fabric which has some metallic things woven into it, which is like a Faraday cage, and that will protect the signals from coming into the child. So these children who are so highly sensitive to it are put in the bed, and then they put it over the bed and then under the mattress so that it's completely surrounded by that. And then they make sure they don't have any Wi-Fi running in the house. And then they turn off the circuit, flip the breaker switch, so the circuit is not running through the wires at night. And then the children get well. And when you stop doing that, they get worse. So I mean, it's pretty clear that it has a huge effect. So this is just one of a number of diseases. Early onset Alzheimer's is very, the research shows it's very closely related to Wi-Fi. Not so much the late onset, but the ones who get it in the 50s. Because that's what it does. And we were sitting there, I can't think. I feel crazy. And finally I decided, Johnson wants to play his cell phone games, and I got to get out of here. So Tuesday morning I said, I got to get out of here. And then I would say, and I would go do something, and I think, what was I was going to, I got to pack and get out. And I had to keep saying over and over, focus, pack, leave, focus on packing, and I got it done. And then I said goodbye and got in the car. And then after I drove for about 15, 20 minutes, I started, I can think again. It's really fascinating.
Sugar light is a stone that I don't have the research with me, and why I don't keep these things and put them on file, but sugar light, you can get in a rock shop, also does some of the EMTs, as does hematite or black tourmaline. Some people think it's woo-woo, but when you really do the research on it, sugar light is one of the things that really can help.
How do you spell that?
SHUGAT, sugar, SHUGAT.
Is it shungite or
Shungite, there you go,
Oh,
shungite, yeah. There you go, pretty sure.
Yeah, and you can be sure you turn off cell phone when you're not using it, and turn off your Wi-Fi routers. And there are, for people who are highly sensitive, there are shields that can be used. But, that seems to be a generational thing. This is what it seems like the evidence is turning up, that if you're exposed to it a lot, you will gradually become sensitized. But your children, whether when they're born, they're going to be born sensitive, and their children will be autistic. That's the sequence of events. And so that's why we're getting more and more autism. It's at the rate we're going, by 2035, 1 out of 3 children will be autistic. If the trend continues the way it's been going.
Wow.
So this is why, I'm emphasizing the health issue, because it's really very serious now. And if you want to learn more about this, I have this one. I love this YouTube video by Zach Bush, who's an MD and he's done a lot of research in it. And it's called, you can remember the title of this video because it's Eat Dirt and Thrive.
Yes.
Yeah.
You've seen it?
I
It's amazing, isn't it? But what he starts out is by showing the incidence of chronic diseases that we're having now. Like now it's 1 out of 3 people will have diabetes, and 1 out of 2 men, 1 out of 3 women will have cancer in their lifetime, and 1 out of
There's heart.
pardon?
There's heart disease too.
Which one?
Heart disease.
Heart.
Well, yeah, heart disease is still up there, but diabetes, cancer, diabetes 1 out of 3. And anyway, he was showing and how if the trends continue by 2035, who's going to take care of the sick people? Everybody's going to have 3 or 4 chronic diseases and
Wow.
not be able to take
Wow.
care of the autistic children because it takes like 2 people to take care of 1 autistic child. So that's only 15 years from now. And what do? Just close everything down and say, okay, we quit. I mean, how can we possibly cope with that? So
We're going to move to
we
Dancing
have-
Shiva. We're going to move to
Dancing
Dancing
Shiva.
Shiva.
Well, yeah, I don't think I would wait till 2035.
Okay. Salt baths, big time salt baths, whether it's Himalayan salt or Epsom salt, with essential oils help electromagnetic fields. Have your whole day. There's so many things
Well,
that you can consciously
also,
do.
that has magnesium in it, those salts. Some salts has magnesium. You see, if you want to get technical, I mean, some people may not be interested in this, but they've now discovered that the Wi-Fi frequencies actually affect the voltage, voltage sensitive calcium channels that go from inside the cell, outside the cell to inside the cell. And so it's a very important part of the functioning of most cells in the body is that calcium concentrations are high outside the cell and magnesium concentrations are high inside the cell, and it creates tension across the cell membrane that allows things to move back and forth. But when too much calcium comes into the inside of the cell, it neutralizes the thing and nothing works right. Okay, so the calcium channels that allow calcium in are regulated by the body through a complex set of signals, which are also electromagnetic, and they're voltage sensitive gates to these passageways. So when you get exposed to Wi-Fi, it blows all the gates open because it's sending the signal that says open them, and they all come open, and then calcium rushes into the inside of the cell. And nothing functions well all over your body. So many diseases are related to this. So one of the things that has helped people who are coping with that is to take high doses of magnesium.
Magnesium, yeah.
Because most people are deficient in magnesium
Big
anyway.
time.
And that helps bring the balance back. But it's hard to bring it back when the calcium channels are still being blasted open constantly. Then it's like an uphill struggle. So taking magnesium can be helpful, soaking in Epsom salts can be helpful, but that's not really getting at the source of the problem.
No.
You know, that's kind of a, what do you call it, a palliative measure. Helps a little bit. But turn off the Wi-Fi when you're not using it. Or better yet, throw it away and get wires. You know, I mean, what's the big deal?
So what do you mean wires? Because I have a computer
Ethernet.
hooked up to the wall. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes,
is
Ethernet.
wires?
You have an Ethernet. You plug it in, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have a modem and I have it plugged in.
Yeah, so there's a difference between Wi-Fi as a source of your signal and something that comes on a wire.
Ethernet,
you plug
that's
your
safer.
Ethernet, your computer. Now that's considered old-fashioned, and nobody wants to do that anymore.
Well, that's what I have, because I just have a flip phone. I don't have these smartphones.
Well, you're lucky. Then, so you actually, some of the people who were engineer types in this conference were saying that these 5G and internet, and Wi-Fi are neither one as fast as fiber optic and a wired connection. That's actually faster because some speed is lost in the broadcasting the signal in Wi-Fi. And then the big selling point for 5G is that, it's going to be really super fast, but it's not faster than
Ethernet?
fiber optic and
Wow.
Ethernet.
Are they going to still continue to allow, because they try to eradicate, are we going to still have access? If I go Ethernet and not do anything Wi-Fi, is that still going to be available? Are they going to try to phase that out?
Well, I think that in Chattanooga, they're opting to do fiber optic rather than 5G. That's what I heard.
You know, a lot of communities are up against it, or
But
against
the
it.
5G sounds like a really bad idea. You have to go. And we need to end anyway, so let's just take a moment to say thank you all. It was fun. And
Thank you.
so, I had no idea what topic we were going to talk about. It was great. That was wonderful. About breath and energy and how to be healthy, how to stay healthy and well. Two important things. And thank you all for coming out from so far. You're going to drive back tonight?
Yes,
Oh my
and
gosh.
I'm doing a Uber yoga class tomorrow.
Oh my gosh.
So,
I'm
but
sorry.
I did want to miss this.
I know,
I'm so glad I
so
came.
glad
Get all
you
this
came.
good energy.
Thank you.
And I want to thank David for hosting. Oh, there he is. For hosting.
Pleasure.
And singing and making all this possible. And also to Carol for helping Carol and David together promote it. So you found out about it and came, and we're so glad you all came.
Yeah.
And happy to have you here. Good. So shall we just stand and let's do a little one Om together. How about that? And in my proper way. Okay. So let's take one breath. Inhale and exhale and prepare for Om. Sorry, I should say receive one breath. Now, receive a deeper breath for Om. Just reset all your circuits, that vibration. Now don't go home and grow them up.